Let's check if this is if this works. Let's check. Yes. Hi Sanyam, how are you?
I'm doing great, Merv. Thanks. How are you? And thanks for this opportunity.
I'm very excited to interview with you because I know that you are doing awesome things, both on your own and in your job. So I'm very excited to talk about that. Can you introduce yourself a bit?
Sure, and thanks. I'm excited to finally meet you. We've been talking on and off on Twitter for a
Yeah.
long time, but yeah, good to see you in person
We are like
finally.
nice
In
internet
person.
friends, I guess.
Yeah. So about me, have you watched the show Peaky Blinders at all?
A bit, yeah.
I'm a man who drinks tea. I was going to throw that reference. I watched it recently. There's this dialogue in that. That's basically who I am. Okay, maybe you haven't reached that episode, but I am a community taught machine learning engineer. I like to call myself community taught because I went to the internet. That's how I learned. I'm still learning. I'm still learning about machine learning. I try
We
to
all do.
Kaggle. Yeah, I try to Kaggle now and then. Still trying to get back into it. Maybe I'm just too scared of it. Maybe I don't have it in me anymore. And I also create content now and then for the community. And I get to work at an amazing startup. We call ourselves a startup. It's H2O.ai. That's me.
So, why did you say, by the way, I don't have it in me? Because I feel like it's kind of requires some amount of dedication. So how does it work?
Uh, yeah, that's definitely true. There's this mad obsession, at least for me. Maybe some people, I know a lot of people are smarter on Kaggle. Maybe I'm because for me it used to take a lot of time. I was pretty active for 4 6 months, during which my rank peaked at 1%, and then I started making money, which was more fun. So I didn't Kaggle as much. Um, Trying to get back into it, but what keeps happening with me is I'm trying to grapple with so many things. I keep getting distracted. Maybe that's just an excuse that I'm using, but yeah, I'm still at the bottom parts of most leaderboards. So that's why I said maybe I don't have it in me anymore.
We'll get back to it, but I want to ask you, since your company mainly works on AutoML and everything, and I feel like most people actually perceive AutoML wrongly. But as a someone who is in the heart of it,
Mhm.
where are we in the AutoML currently, and how does it actually work? Will we ever need data scientists again? Because I'm kind of scared, if I ever lose my job.
You have
Can we
3 years
just
until your job is gone, Merv. That's all you have.
Yeah, let me just study in another school and we'll see.
That's why I have a YouTube channel now. Now you
Yeah.
know. Just kidding. Jokes aside, I think, and just on a philosophical level, if I may, it's just another tool in our toolbox, right? It's just serving as what machine learning was serving to us a few years ago. Would you think of writing back propagation by hand every time? No, right? Would you think of writing random forest? No. And to me, if I think about it, go back a few years in time when, let's say, scikit-learn was in its early days. You maybe weren't sure what is this framework about. It's clunky. Sometimes it works. I can see the promise, but it's not quite there yet. I think AutoML is somewhere in that stage right now. So the vision of it is it's supposed to be another tool in my toolbox, and it's supposed to again help me do the things that I don't want to do, help me run the experiments that I don't want to run. Okay, I know this is the problem, this is the feature engineering I could do. Just throw it at AutoML and let me do the interesting bits. So that's it at a philosophical level. There are two types of AutoML, with a human in the loop and one that's completely end to end. So what H2O.ai builds as products, we like to call these. These would need an expert at the end. these are pretty great by themselves. If you just hit launch experiment, it'll give you better results. It gives better results than me. Usually it's on the top of many Kaggle leaderboards. It's good by itself. But if you are a domain expert, there's a complete set of options. You can pop the hood, if I may, and tune these settings. So again, it's, I think of it as a tool. If I specifically talking about driverless AI here, which is one of the products that we build, you can look into the settings. It's going to do good by itself. But if I'm a domain expert, I can tell the software that, hey, here's my script, evaluate this as well, along with the other 1,000, 10,000 experiments that you're going to run, and it's going to go ahead and do that for me. I don't have to worry about it. It's going to automate all of that. So that's how I look at it.
I saw some of your solutions, and like it was quite end to end in a way that it also pre-processes data or something, because like there was this cloud API, and then you just pass your data, and then it pre-processes it. In a way, I was kind of scared because I don't believe in the way that machines can actually pre-process data by themselves without domain knowledge, and also like common sense in a way. Like for instance, like you are building a machine learning model, and you have it's about like PIMA data sets. That's something we all know, and there are some blood sugar levels below zero or like on zero, and
Mhm.
like you come up with a conclusion that this data is either missing or something. But like machines don't really have common sense in a way, so like you solve it with directly speaking to domain experts. Is that how it goes?
So if we're talking about driverless AI, it's not a black box, right? What's happening inside of it? It's not that we just click a few buttons and everything happens. You can nicely take a look at what's going to happen. It does tell you that, hey, this is the feature engineering that's going to happen. These are the models that are going to be trained. And if you're a domain expert, you could look at that and upload your own scripts or tune those settings as well. If you know that, let's say, for example, XYZ parameters make more sense, you could do that. You could also handle the data yourself if you'd like to. So, again, it's somewhat an end-to-end process, but there's transparency as well, and you are the person in control with AutoML. Again, it's a tool for you. That's how, if I may, we look at it. That's how I look at it.
That's a nice perspective, by the way, because people basically think that we will not need data scientists or machine learning engineers in like 5 years or something, because AutoML is booming. I also perceive AutoML in a way that it's a tool. It's not something that, yeah, just take my data and give me something, in my opinion. But like, what are the main challenges in the way of actually, yeah, take my data and just give me something? Like, why can't we achieve it in a way?
So another way that we look at it is, we have a lot of grandmasters, Kaggle grandmasters at H2O, and it's essentially a Kaggle grandmaster in a box, right? Now, these grandmasters, through all of their efforts and their amazing brains, they are geniuses. If you talk to them, you'll find out, have figured out these tricks and things that only they know somehow of working in data science. Now, inside our products, essentially, it's been distilled into it. And I think what separates at least me from someone who's a grandmaster is they've trained million times more stuff than I would have. They would have done million times more experiments than I would have. Now they have those insights. And again, for auto ML as well, how do we bring those insights into our product that humans already have? So a lot of it is our grandmasters who have brought these features, pun intended, into the product. And again, at the end of it, it also requires the domain expert to also do a lot of hand holding. It'll do good by itself, but some hand holding can also, push it further.
That sounds like, when we are doing robotic process automation and other data science mm, processes for automation, we are basically replicating whatever human does. It's like imitation learning, and you are basically replicating what a Kaggle grandmaster does in a way. I guess that's
Exactly.
what I have understood. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's a
I mean,
good way of putting it.
that's really great. Can you also talk a bit about a Wave project in H2O that you're working on? Because I
Sure.
loved it. I want other people to know.
Yep. For your subscribers, I think we'll soon do a live stream about it. We've been planning on it, so please subscribe to Merve's channel if you haven't. Um,
Thanks.
I think so. Broadly, we like to call ourselves makers. We have a motto, a philosophy: "Makers gonna make." It's written on our t-shirts, the H2OE maker t-shirts, and we also like to empower makers by giving them these tools of AI. Now, that's the philosophy behind all that we do, right? So there's already driverless AI, which was an amazing product. The next wave in our products, pun intended, is literally called Wave. And what that allows you to do is create AI apps. It's a framework that'll allow you as a data scientist or someone who's working in data science, someone who collaborates with data scientists to be able to build an app for your business. There's a gap, I think, for data scientists or anyone that, hey, you need to know at least things I read. I absolutely hate web development. I won't say I look down upon them because we're live. I don't look down upon web developers, but
Totally,
I don't
me
like
too.
it. uh, you need to make things look nice. I, for one, am not good at UI. And you need to make sure that things work nicely and are scalable and deployable. So, what we've done is we've created a framework with these things in mind, specifically for business users and data scientists, to allow them to create apps along those lines. And how did this come about into this form that it is? In our history of creating products, we've tried to open source as much as we can. We recently launched an AI app store. The name gives it away. And in the process of it, we ourselves have been creating this framework. So that's how Wave came about. And we decided, hey, let's.
That's awesome.
I wasn't part of that meeting, but the makers decided that we're going to open source it to allow others as well to make apps.
How does AI App Store work? Is it like, yeah, you have some telco business, just pick this application and we will provide you some services on, I don't know, churn prediction? Is that how it
So,
works?
so what happens is people much smarter than me, also known as grandmasters, they create these amazing apps, and they are there in this app store that I just mentioned about. Now, like you said, if you're working in just telco and we have a lot of customers in that sector, you can just use that particular app. You don't need a complete software. That app will be very specific to your use case, and you can utilize it because it'll be specifically catered to you. Now, you don't need to worry about other use cases that would come along with it.
That's awesome, by the way. Also, if you have any questions, I'm asking to watchers. You are free to ask. You can ask anything to Sanyam. Another thing is, I really wondered. I'm a big fan of your show, and how did you
Thank you.
come up with this idea? I just wanted to learn.
Yeah, I work a lot on impulse. I I do a lot of things on impulse, and I was doing these blog interviews, and they didn't feel right in the sense that, let's say, if I were interviewing Merv, which I will in a few weeks, it felt like I would be asking you to write a blog for me. So I ended the blog interviews quite some time ago, and then I graduated somewhere in between, and it just occurred to me, hey, there's this thing known as podcasting. I basically interview people. That's podcasting, right? That thought happened overnight. uh, I essentially quit 90% of my income at that point in time just to start the podcast, with no proper vision or zero clue about. Merv, you would know how much of a learning curve it is. Zero clue about video editing, zero
Yeah.
clue about audio processing. I just decided to start it and announce the date, launched it.
I'm still struggling. I'm also working on impulses and like To keep myself busy, I basically make promises to people, like I'm going to give you some workshops, I'm going to do some podcasting for you, like
That's
I'm
amazing.
basically a community person, and I feel like you're also a community person. So I kind of dedicate myself afterwards, but the dedication part is really hard, like because like you have to keep your promises in a way.
Yeah.
How do you like do by the way, are you still caggling? I mean, you do not go back to that, but do you still, I mean, do you still
I'm back
spend
on
time on
Kaggle.
it?
Yeah, I
Okay.
spend I think right now 3 to 4 hours a day on Kaggle. I'm not competing. I'm more into kernel writing. So right now I'm just reading a lot of kernels and trying to write a few. But yeah, I need to get back into competition as well.
um I wonder if there is a pattern in the solutions, or like are they by trial, and like you just try and find a solution that is way better and you just submit it. Is that how it works with Kaggle competitions? Is
Um,
there a I feel like there's no one size fits all thing, but
mhm.
like also what brings you a win, like is it the way you pre-process data, is it like the small touches like forward elimination, backward elimination, regularization, or like hyperparameter search? Like I always wondered like what makes a person a grandmaster or a master, or like win a competition in the Kaggle. Like what do you do differently?
Yeah, I'm the wrong person to answer that because I have not won a competition ever and I'm not a competitions master. So take it with a grain of salt. I've interviewed a lot of winners. I've had the chance to interview them. But I think it's a mix of all of the above things, right? And there's no one size fits all, like you said. But again, there are these dots that you start to connect. At least for me, what I would do honestly is, if I as far as I remember 3 years ago, I would just go to a kernel, start tweaking code, breaking everything, nothing would work. I would go into depression, cry about my life, why don't I know Python, think about learning Python. But instead
Relatable, yeah.
come back the next day and start tweaking stuff again. And sometimes the numbers would work in a better direction and I'd get excited, submit to the leaderboard, continue doing this. And with time, I started to note some patterns, right? Oh, this is why we do label encoding. Oh, this is where we use XGBoost.
Yeah,
Is this where we
totally.
use neural networks? That makes sense. And at least for me, these patterns start to emerge. I'm guessing for people who do really well on competitions, it comes with practice, and some of it is just genius. I think they start taking note of these ideas and points through, of course, spending all the time. And I think that's how the dots would connect for them. I'm just guessing here. I'm not that far ahead yet.
Um, I first time when I was learning data science, like I'm an industrial engineer. Actually, I'm not a computer science graduate or
Okay.
anything. So, in a way, I have a linear algebra plus statistic plus maths background.
Hmm.
So, and I have learned theory much more than the practice. I used to do that. I mean, I would just, learn, where to use the label encoder, where to use this, where to use that, etc. So, so in a way, I try to do my, like EDA much more than any other person, and try to understand what's going on, like which variables are problematic, etc., rather than just trying and yeah, this worked for me, that didn't work for me. I feel like these people who are like grandmasters, or like I don't know, like masters, they somehow uh do the same, because I mean, if you really want to get a grasp of data, I mean, it's very high dimensional,
Yeah.
and I don't think, I mean, you have to be a genius, obviously, and I don't think that it's easy. You cannot just directly say it by looking at the data, like, yeah, I will do this and do that. But like maybe what you can do is you can do, like exploratory data analysis, and like take the features and then apply whatever you're going to apply to every feature, and just come up with something that is going to make these features useful in a way. I feel like that's what people do. But I mean,
Mhm.
I'm not that familiar with Kaggle because like I just used it. I mean, I used it when I started in data science. It was like 2017.
Mhm.
uh, they encouraged us to, like use Kaggle in the school because it's a nice place. I had no idea that there were competitions, etc. We were just looking at the data sets and stuff. uh,
No one in my university knew about Kaggle.
I mean, I feel like I am also like quite weak in a way. I mean, people are like, Marve, you're awesome, etc. But I am not that good. Sometimes I need to admit that in coding, for instance. So like I try to improve myself in HackerRank. Plus, currently, like what I'm doing is that in my job I'm doing NLP, NLU tools, sometimes API development and stuff. So like I feel like I need to improve myself on that way and then improve myself on Kaggle. So like I'm currently doing lead code and hacker rank and other stuff. I mean, at least I try to um, improve myself in that. But like
Mhm.
I would love to, like attend the competition, even though I have no idea.
Yeah. I think what worked for me and my best performance was finishing seventh on a competition, and that happened because I teamed up with many amazing people. And full credit to them. That's how we got to the position. One thing I learned was, so I'm side note here. I'm not a social person. I check my phone for no reason. Like I don't even know why do I keep checking my phone. No one's texting me. But at that time, every night we'd go to sleep. I'd go to sleep. I'd wake up to 150 messages in the WhatsApp group with the teammates, just because these guys apparently they didn't sleep. I don't know if they do still. They would come up with all of these ideas, try all of them overnight, and keep discarding them. So that was an aspect also. I think one of the most fun things on Kaggle is you get to team up with such amazing people who are ahead of you, of course, but also there's a diversity to it. So just learning from that, there was a lot of iteration, a lot of brainstorming. We would come up with these ideas. I would suggest that, hey, there's this thing in fast AI, let me try that. Most of the things, honest, again, a side note here, most of the things that I came up with didn't work. At least we tried though. And just that aspect, I think, also slowly helps you shape how you understand different problems. And I think I saw this conversation somewhere, maybe on Twitter. One of the grandmasters was mentioning that most of the problems that they are provided today, they can trace it back to a competition that they had worked on. I think, and I've heard the exact same argument from software engineers as well. They can scale it back to a lead code problem or some problem or sub format that they had solved in their effort of doing competitive programming. And I think that's where the dots connect. I'm not a good software engineer by any standard. I studied computer science. That didn't make me a better coder in any sense. I would just pattern match my way into getting good grades. I would just study questions that would be expected. That's how I got good grades. But I don't think that that has made me a better programmer. Yeah, that's my perspective on it.
um, What was the common ground on, like you said that you have interviewed with grandmasters and you also attended challenges with other people. What is that? I mean, is what you have said was the common ground where all of these people agree and they are doing actually? Because I don't know if, like trying different solutions, discarding some and just trying again. I don't know if if it's a time efficient thing, like you have to dedicate yourself very hard because then there is you need to train your model,
Mhm.
etc.
No,
So yeah.
that was just the experience of this competition. My point of view on that competition. I'm sure my teammates would have different. They were having a lot of fun. To me, it was like, oh no, I came up with another stupid idea. Gone again. A common ground between all of the people I've got to interview. I think there's a common respect for Kaggle. Uh, even among researchers that I've had a chance to interview, Kagglers for sure, researchers as well, many practitioners as well really respect the world of Kaggle, in the sense that, at least to me, I drink my chai out of a Kaggle mug, and I do think it is the home to data science. So,
Yeah, I
and I
mean,
think
if
they
you're
would
a
agree with me.
yeah, I mean, if you're a data scientist, especially on structured data, I guess. I mean, not like for computer vision or like NLP problems, but more like I mean, that's my intuition on Kaggle. You know, like more on the structured data and other things. I mean, I really miss that because like in my current job, I don't really do structured data stuff because we already have a data scientist. I'm just doing NLP and development. Um, yeah, I just miss it. Maybe like I will make it as a side hobby or something. Like this year, what I have determined for myself was like I'm going to learn reinforcement learning, because in my school, we have like I am taking machine learning this semester, and in this semester we have this project on chess, I guess, that
Mhm.
I need to solve with reinforcement learning. And like currently, like I have Twitch, I have podcast, I have school, I have job, and like I
I
need
don't know
to
how you do this.
study. I have to study in advance for everything. Like there is no other choice. Like after this podcast, I'm going to study concept learning basically, because that's what is going to be what I'm going to learn next week. So that's actually what I did in the last semester, and that actually worked for me. So like if anyone's watching, what was I saying? Mm,
You're talking about
yeah.
structured data.
Yeah. This year I'm going to do reinforcement learning and ML on Edge, because I mean I find them very impressive.
Mhm.
The ML on Edge devices, and I also bought some tiny ML kits and stuff. I'm going to take the course. I really wondered how they work. But like after that, I'm totally getting into Kaggle, because like I'm very jealous of the
That's
people
awesome.
just going into competitions and they have their inner circle and just hanging out.
Yeah, you should totally do that.
We have few questions.
Mhm.
So Emin Jan asked, why Kaggle Grandmaster or Expert choose XGBoost immediately? I am curious about this topic. Is it?
Depends
I
on the
don't think it's immediately, by the way, but yeah.
depends on the competition, right? Like for an image competition, you wouldn't. But I think it works okay out of the box. And there's this one thing broadly in data science, or especially on Kaggle, you'd want to have a good baseline, right? It's a good baseline. XGBoost gives you a
Yeah.
good baseline.
I have this blog post about how XGBoost works and why we love it. Like literally, I have a blog post on why I love XGBoost so much. You know, like in my former job. I mean,
So
it
please check
prevents
that
you
out.
from. I mean, it has so many things on Ensemble that I mean prevents overfitting, underfitting, and many other problems. In my
And
opinion,
it's
that's
hard to
why.
overfit as well. So yeah, it's a good starting point.
Yeah, I mean, but people are just like, yeah, XGBoost with grid search, and that's done, but I feel like, what we should do is basically, I mean, just look at the data first. And then, I mean, XGBoost is a great baseline. I completely agree. And you can basically fit to anything, whether if
Mhm.
you have a kernel, whether if you have like if your data is linear, whether if it's not linear whatsoever, you have a nice baseline basically. I also wonder, I was basically being interviewed by I think it's I don't know what they're doing. I think they are doing funds management, like you have different funds and you have to like optimize them, etc.
Mhm.
So, and I had another friend just attending to interview, and what he told me was like, Marve, you have to try this one, you have to stack them together, and then you have to do a parallel assembling, and then other advanced stuff, and I was like super intimidated in a way because I wasn't really using, that much of an ensemble model. But I feel like people in Kaggle also use ensemble models a lot, like, like just put an XGBoost and then maybe a neural network on top of it. I don't know.
Mhm.
Yeah. Did you
Yep.
did you did you did you come across any? I feel like I saw few.
Oh, yep. We have the master of the grandmaster of stacking, Casanova, Marius at H2O. He was the former number one, and he doesn't call it crazy, but the jury's out on that. He would do this crazy 4 5 level ensembles where he'd have a neural network which would do a meta ensemble of all of these ensembles, stuff like that. And he had written this package in Java, stuff like that. So there are Kagglers out there who do all of this as well. There are, I think some of it is required for a lot of competitions, but then again there's this kernel style competition where it's hard to do that. So again, it's a mix of both.
I mean, XGBoost itself is a, already complicated ensemble model in a way, but there are literally people who stack multiple models and just try to come up with something nice. And I really bow down to their effort. Like, I appreciate it, like that's too much in my opinion. Another question. Um, how do you spell this name?
I think
Uh,
it's Sriram.
Okay. What are your learnings from interviewing people in MLDS fields? They have asked.
Uh, so many things. I'm trying to see if I can distill it into something that sounds good, that makes sense. I think the biggest takeaway for me is again having a lot of patience broadly in the field. Everyone who I have interviewed and people I look up to, they have had this patience and this rigor for so much time. I think I saw a tweet by the Orange Book. It's 23-year-olds like me find wisdom in tweets. That's where I find wisdom. It said, people say they're passionate about stuff and they usually give up in a few years, leave alone decades. And again, these people, they have been working in this field for so many years, so many hours every single day, and now we try to become data scientists in 3 months, 6 months, and give up if we can't do well in a few competitions. I think that was my biggest takeaway, that hey, being even like in the last 10% of anything, being even just that good takes a lot of effort. And that's true to anything, I think, even with podcasting, even with content.
Yeah, currently I have like 87 followers. Like my first episode was like 500 views, I guess. I mean, it
That's so
just takes
many.
practice. I didn't know. so I completely agree. By the way, because people think being a data scientist is actually easy, and you just take I don't know, Titanic data set and just apply something on it and just come up with something. They also don't do most of the stereotypic people who got into this area don't do EDA as well. They are just training the model straightforward. But it really requires dedication, and um, I feel like people like us are kind of blessed because we know what we love in life and we just try to make it our job. I mean, I'm kind of passionate for like it's been 4 years. That's kind of a lot for
Hmm?
me. Um, but people don't really care about like the theory, the amount of know-hows you should have. People underestimate many things, like domain knowledge, for instance.
Yeah,
So
they don't talk about the sadness that comes out of not being able to understand list comprehensions, then doubting your software skills. They don't talk about every single time you have to look up some code and you can't make heads or tails out of it, and you just spend 2 hours trying to read one function and trying to understand it. Maybe it's just me, but yeah, it takes a lot of efforts.
There was this meme. I don't know if you know Thomas the Train, but it has this face looking at something, and there was something written on it. When a junior data scientist sees a data set in real life, because people think it's basically all toy data sets in Kaggle that are meant to be already, like there are, I mean, that are meant to be correlated with the target variable already. So people actually expect it. And when you come across something that is like garbage, in my opinion, like plain garbage, and you try to make something out of it,
Yeah,
that's the hard work in data science. And people also
even
don't care about, like kind of writing clean code and stuff. I mean, yeah, and they just give up, like they go to an interview and they cannot get hired and just give up because I feel like they don't love it. In a way, they just don't know what they're doing. And there is this hype out there called data science, machine
yeah,
learning, like the future is here, and people just like it and then just go for it. But like they don't know what they are going to deal with, and they don't know whatever it takes, the dedication and everything, all those hours I have spent on Coursera, on, I don't know, learning something, on reading documentation, trying to learn the theory. So yeah, I completely agree with you.
absolutely. And I think it's true to anything in life, right? I'm just trying to pull up my phone here, and I think I lost not a lot. I lost around 5 pounds, 2.5 kg in Feb, and that, according to my watch, took 43
Congrats.
hours. Thank you. That took 43 hours, right? 43 hours of, and this isn't easy, right? If you're working out, it's like you count every minute and you just want to rest. So I think it's true to anything.
Yeah, I completely agree because it's whatever, you need to firstly have motivation, and then something that is going to drive you, and you need to make this a priority, like period. Whatever you do, you make a priority. You can basically sacrifice anything in order to achieve it if you really want something, in a way. That was something I have learned last year. um I didn't really like the bachelor's that I have studied. So like I didn't have a nice GPA, and I didn't love what I have learned, and I didn't make this a priority. So like I didn't have a nice degree. But like I realized, in the masters I have like 3.80 something GPA
Wow.
right now. I mean, that's the thing, because I have taken, like one of the most challenging electives, data structures, basically. And when
But
you
then
love something and if you make it a priority, then I mean, you can basically do anything, in my opinion. Like no excuses whatsoever.
but then again, the GPA is the outcome of your passion, right? It's
Yeah,
there because you made a conscious decision to invest so much time into studying something that is so difficult to grasp. Data structures, all of these graphs and stuff like that, hash tables, whatnot. It's a difficult concept, but it takes some efforts.
yeah, but like the truth is that I just wanted to learn, like I was like, teach me something that I don't know. Because like for instance, I have taken a data science 101 class. I have learned many things, by the way.
Hmm.
But it wasn't something that I didn't know as a professional already. I mean, I have learned few things in theory, like why does this work, for instance? Like why, I don't know, why is there heteroskedasticity, whatever. I mean, that was a nice explanation. That's what you can get in academia if you are not taking something that you don't know.
Mhm.
And I didn't know data structures, and I was like, teach me everything, and I'm going to do hacker rank, and I'm going to optimize my code and write better code and stuff. And like my main point was that I wanted to learn. Most people basically go to school and just try to like get their grades high, etc. I mean, that's what we all do, but in essence, it's better if you really want to learn something and just apply to it. Because, for instance, like in my country, oh god, uh, people basically, because there is this work from home thing and study from home thing, people tend to just go on a Fiverr and do find someone that's going to do their project or whatsoever.
Wait,
I
they're
mean,
doing that over there as well? I thought it was just India.
oh, it's in Turkey as well. I mean, I didn't know that was in India as well, on my side. I mean, I
I'm
thought it
just
was
joking.
just a
Maybe it's just
Turkish
my
thing.
circle. Maybe it's just my
Uh,
circle.
no, not really. I mean, I mean, you have to learn something, in the end.
Yep.
Like, just, I mean, just do it yourself. For instance, like, what can you lose at that point? Because it's all you have to do. So yeah, we
I
have
think
other. Yeah, go on.
I was just going to ramble on about being an undergrad or grad student. We tend to put these things off, like let it be for a test or whatever, or you know what, I can study this later. It does catch up to you. Like, for example, I'm not good at stats. I've never formed. I have taken courses of stats. I have good grades in them, but I don't know stats because I didn't study it. I just studied the questions,
That's what
and
most
that
people do, by the way. Even the lecturers, they don't know. They don't know how it works. They don't have the intuition. It's all about intuition. Like I have these few books. Let me show you. This book called Naked Statistics. It
I
all,
have
all
that
it
one.
does, like, it gives you an intuition. And like
Yeah,
there is some book on causality, book of why. This
I've
also
read
gives
that
you a
one as
nice
well. Yeah,
and art of statistics. I mean, they don't teach you at school on why are we learning it? Why? What are we going to do with this? What are we going to use statistics for? Like why? I mean, machine learning in a way is statistics, because basically you are trying to come up with a prediction from a sample space. That's basically
exactly.
what statistical inference is.
So what
It's
I
a
was
type. I mean,
exactly. So what I was trying to get to there was now I have to study all of this because I didn't study it back then, and that's how it catches up to you, Asil, and that's why the passion is important, right? Like, why the heck would I want to read those 5 books in the first place? I am not a person who reads books. I would rather be out drinking chai and going for mountain bike rides. But that's why the passion is important, and if you skip stuff, it catches up to you. Even though if I graduated, I got good grades, I got a distinction, but now I don't know this stuff, so I have to study about it.
Julian is watching us. Hi there.
Yeah,
I would love
I
to
turned on the PC
host
for
you
Julian.
one day. Ah, so we have few other questions. It's just what I'm saying is statistics. If you teach it not right, plus, I mean, most people who are learning it basically just memorize all of the question types. Like I have this, I have that. My samples are different. My samples have different variations whatsoever, and then variances, I'm sorry, whatsoever. So I should be applying this test. They're basically,
Mhm.
memorizing it, but they don't really teach you why is it funny. It's actually fun when you think about it, in my opinion, because you are trying to predict something. I just
Absolutely.
I just I just love to predict something, so in the school they just don't give you any intuition, because the lecturers don't know it as well. They have just used some methods on their researchers, etc. That's why they cannot teach you well, in my opinion. But like these people who have written these books actually know something, so that they can transfer it to you. I mean,
I think, and that's why we need more better educators and content creators like you, right? Like, I'm sure Julian and Thomas have heard this request many times that we need more videos from Hugging Face, just because they're such amazing teachers, right? They're such
Yes.
nice creators and teachers. Fast AI. Right now, I'm taking this course by David Perel, who comes from a different world of writing. And if you take a nice course by someone, it distills passion into you. You get more passionate about it, and you
Yeah,
need to resonate with the educator.
I also love watching people who love their jobs, and I love watching them do their jobs in a way. So we have few questions. Should a Naval engineer know some backend? Hmm,
Um,
I don't know.
I I would say it depends, right? Like with Wave, we just talked about Wave. That's what we're trying to eliminate, right? You don't need to know these things that aren't part of data science. You just need to be good at your stuff, which is data science, and then you can use such a framework. I know there are a few others out there as well. You can use a framework to build an app, which eliminates the need of front end or back end, right? That's our vision with Wave as well.
Yeah, I mean, I had to learn Flask, and it's hard to grasp everything if you are not a backend engineer, backend developer. If you want to learn Flask, by the way, to all of the watchers, I recommend the book by Miguel Greenberg, because he also talks about like security protocols, etc. Whatever you have to learn about backend in general, and then how you apply it on Flask. Few other questions. What are difference between Kaggle competition and real life projects? I mean, there is a lot, I guess. Would you like to go on?
Yeah, but the thing about competitions is they are also real life problems for someone, just that they figured out a lot of things for you. Now you have the data set and you know the problem. Many times you don't know the problem and you don't quite have the data set in the format that it's supposed to be. I worked on
Yeah.
very few real world problems compared to competitions, but that's my overview on it.
In real life, you have a lot of data cleaning to deal with. If you don't have a nice, I mean, if you are not working in a corporate, and you don't have a nice data engineering team that does all of these stuff for you, but like Kaggle is basically providing you the structured data, and you just need to run some techniques, feature engineering, and machine learning algorithms on it. And you don't need to deploy. If you're on startup, you also have to deploy your model in a way. I also love, TensorFlow serving and other out of the box things that help you deploy other than Flask. Yeah, if it basically depends on where you are working, in my opinion, because like in corporate, you have a very narrow scope of work, and in startups you need to like clean your data, structure it, deploy sometimes. Yeah. What is your workflow from problem solution, Jupyter Lab, train locally or in the cloud, hyperparameter search, tracking experiments, version control, debugging, getting ideas, and deployments?
That's a great question.
Nice question. Yeah, go.
And hey, Emil, Emil is an amazing. He does so many things. He's I think AI art creator. Among all of the things that he does, I really look up
Oh,
to his art.
seriously? I would like to check his work. I really like generative stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, he. I think he just got 4 A6000. He's gonna do something with it. I'm pretty excited about it. But coming to his question, I work locally just because my now setup this cost 150% of my last year's salary. I think something like that. I invested that into this just to have that convenience of having a good local setup. So I do everything locally mostly, and I've deployed very few things. So I'm just going to talk about what things that I tend to do. Um, I would start with the scripts that I can find or already are aware of. I am aware of. So through a few competitions, I know a few kernels that I can download and start off of them. Or sometimes, very rarely, I have some code that I had written earlier, start off of that in a notebook. I really like Jupyter notebooks. I do most of it, most of my stuff using Conda plus Jupyter notebooks, and get to a baseline. I try to get to a baseline as fast as I can. And this is assuming I've done all of the EDA. So it depends on the problem, right? For version control, I'm trying to be more strict about it, but I use GitHub when I can. uh, Google Sheets for the win. I use Google Sheets to track all of my experiments. For ideas, again, list down all of them in the sheet in an order that makes sense. A stupid idea goes towards the bottom, and try as many of them as I can, and then keep iterating upon all of these. So now I have 3 GPUs, and Emil and I actually talked about this. The nice thing about having multiple GPUs is you can run different experiments on them. So I just keep running different experiments on all 3 of them. As you can see, the fans are still spinning in the back.
Mine
Something is being
too.
trained. Yeah.
Yeah. So Julian said those are great books. If you have any recommendations, by the way, just please recommend. Also, Sanyam, please recommend some books if you have. My go-to book, um, they ask to both, what books are you currently reading? Yeah.
Let's see, what am I reading. I have my Kindle on my table, so it's very convenient. I'm reading Neil deGrasse's book on astrophysics for people in a hurry. That's the title of the book.
Awesome. Currently, what I'm reading is Tom Mitchell's machine learning book because it's the textbook of my class. But like as a if you can't find it because it's that book is hard to find. This book by Peter Norvig, man. Do you know who Peter Norvig is? He's an
Of
awesome
course,
person. He also nice. He also has really nice shirts. If you have ever not
I
noticed
have.
it,
I have.
this book is legendary. I really love this book. Um, I mean, I used to read Thinking Fast and Slow,
Hmm?
which is on cognitive biases. I
It's
really
an
like
amazing book.
understanding people, that's why we are all in data science, in my opinion. I mean, currently, what I'm doing is chatbots and conversational AI technologies. In a way, I can basically observe how people react to a machine, and I just love how people think, how people react, how people change their behaviors. So, I mean, most of the business problems in data science are exciting, in my opinion. Yeah. Another question is, how do you manage your full time job, Kaggle, and blogging?
I
Yes.
drink a lot of chai. That that helps me get through stuff.
uh, do you have any tricks, by the way, to manage your time?
I don't think I'm good at managing time at all. I struggle a lot with it. But yeah, it's a lot of weird hours. I think with especially with the podcast, it used to be a lot of weird hours all across the clock. Yeah, I don't have any tips for time management. I just do what I like and spend stupid amount of hours on what I like.
What I have discovered is, like, last semester I have learned about dynamic programming, and there's this thing called divide and conquer. So, like, that's what I'm basically doing with my tasks. I divide them in, small granular pieces, and
That's
then
a
I
nice
just
analogy.
I just do some Kanban board on it. It's like, as you discover that you have accomplished many stuff, it gives you a drive, a motivation to go on more because you have basically done tons of things. Also,
That
Stefan is here. He also asked a question. Please go on. I'm sorry.
No worries. That doesn't work for me because I have this big to-do list and I barely get through any of it. So that actually makes me sad. So I stopped doing that. Now it's just a mental list that I keep in my head, and I think that's also nice way for me. What works for me is just like keeping things in my head. I tend to only hopefully remember the important stuff that can be done in a day. So I don't make an explicit to-do list. Maybe I should start doing that again. But yeah, I just keep a mental list these days.
I feel like applications don't really work because you need another reminder to look at the application. So I have them on my walls. You know, like the first thing I see is whatever I have to do. Yeah,
Makes sense.
yeah. That also works, by the way, if you have ever tried it. Stephanie's here. Hey guys, what are your average cost per month cloud GPUs, AWS, Google buckets for your research?
I think my electricity bill is close to 200 ish dollars a month, probably more, something
That's
like
a
that.
lot. But I mean, if you're training on your local, it's normal.
Yeah,
I
it makes a
mean,
nice heater as well.
yeah, you don't need to heat your apartment anymore.
Yeah.
I don't really train on my local because I have a MacBook and like I only train the chatbot on my local because it doesn't take much. It's a very shallow model. It's not a gigantic burst or anything. But like last week, normally like I have clusters on my job and a remote machine on my job that I can use. Um, so like last week I was fine tuning a bird for Turkish as a like I was doing it for Hugging Face as a tutorial,
Hmm.
and I realized like it doesn't end basically to train on my local, and like it doesn't end simply. So like I took it to collab, and I used collab like my I was running out of RAM and stuff, so I bought a collab pro that was very cheap, by the way, in my opinion, and just trained on it, and it was like fine. So I don't really have a cost, in my opinion. I just
For
have Collab Pro, I guess.
for me, when I just started studying machine learning, I think my AWS bills would go around $500 to $1,000 a month for quite a bit. Yeah, but
That's a lot.
I look at it as an investment. I think many people might disagree, but even with this box, right, this is quite an investment for me. I think it costs around, I don't know, somewhere around 15 to $20,000. And for context, where I stay, my rent is $100 a month. Just to put things into context, I look at these things as just an investment, right? If I'm to be in this field, I should be investing this amount just because it's part of the job.
I really wonder what you are training, that much. Is it I mean,
GANs
yeah.
these days, it's a lot of GANs.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah,
understand now. Like I used to have some experiments with neural style transparent stuff on the photographs I have taken, and it doesn't end. It doesn't converge at all as
yeah,
well. It is destined
it
to
takes a
be
long time.
collapsed. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm not paying for mine, but whenever I'm paying, it's Collab Pro. Yeah. I don't have powerful machine required for Kaggle competitions. What would you suggest we can use, like say Collab or any best practices experts use?
Just start with what you like, right? Just start with Kaggle kernels, Colab Pro, AWS. Just start with something, but the important thing is starting up. You absolutely don't need something like this. Uh, I remember talking to Kaggle Grandmaster Jiba. He is a legend, former number one. And I was telling him that, so I had recently changed cities and I couldn't take my box with me. And I told him that, hey, my laptop just has a 1070. And he told me, oh wow, that's pretty good actually. According to him, according to the former number one, even that was pretty good. I'm sure he's won competitions using much lesser than I have barely gotten into a medal zone with. So yeah, just start with what you have.
I mean, yeah, I completely agree. I mean, EC2, you can use EC2 as well, or Collab Pro, or I don't know, anything that's on cloud. Um, what do you use, by the way, as a GPU?
Right now,
Hmm. Yeah.
I I have a 3090, a Titan, and a 2080 Ti.
I'm impressed. Yeah, I saw your photo. I remember with Titan. It's like gold and stuff. Like I always wanted it, like it's like you know, it's like a baby, like that's what we call in Turkish to something that is so pretty and like awesome. I
Yeah.
remember that, and I was very jealous of it, by the way.
Yeah, it cost quite a lot in customs though. um I also used, I think at that time it was just P3 instances. I think G4 are pretty good now. Many
Yeah.
people, again, just my opinion, tend to get caught up in a lot of analysis of spot instances versus reserved instances. I was freelancing at that time, and I would just look at it as, hey, this costs $5 an hour. Will I be paid more than that when I actually start to earn? If yes, go for it. Instead of just trying to spend so much time comparing the options, because that takes a lot of time and you don't want to be doing that. You want to be building stuff, you want to be writing code, you want to be training stuff.
Yeah, exactly. I never calculated it. I don't know. I mean, how long does it take? I mean, for instance, you are just assume that you are training an XGBoost or like a random forest model. Like, how long does it take? I mean, don't they train on CPU as well? Like, you can allocate cores, like workers and
Yep.
stuff. I
Yep.
mean, don't they train on CPU as well? So, like, why would you need an advanced model? I'm asking to the person who was asking this thing, because like you don't need to apply a neural network to every model. Most people do it. It's like I always say, it's like cutting a bread with a katana, because like it's very overkill to whatever
Yeah.
you want to actually do. Like just try the statistical models, ensembles, whatsoever, and then just use neural networks if you can't solve your problem. Yeah. We don't have any other questions, I guess. I mean,
Mhm.
my last question to you was like, how did you keep yourself dedicated to your, like whatever you are doing? Like you have come up with 2 episodes, right, every week for chai time. Like how did it work for you? That's really hard.
It was, I would say, 100 miles beyond the point of burnout for me.
Yeah, I
just
completely agree.
just I think David Goggins talks about this, and in the, I think it's called epilogue or prologue, the opening words of the book, he says, I hope this book doesn't motivate you. It's a motivational book, but he says that. And he says that motivation is temporary, right? Drive is something that you would want. So for me, it was just a challenge. It took quite a few efforts. I had to cancel a lot of things. I couldn't Kaggle as much. Maybe I was just bad at balancing things. But yeah, just being driven for it, just being able to do it, wanting to do it, got me there. Now I'm doing a micro resolution. I've never worked out in my life. I'm not a fitness person, but again, I just created this video that, hey, in the next 100 days, I'm going to get to a point of doing 100 push ups, 100 crunches, and 100 squats just because I want.
I was a
And
gym person, and then I put everything on my, like my school and my job as a priority, and then I forgot about it.
I think just having that fun, right, in the process, and it's been fun for me. Now I'm starting another micro resolution next month, starting the 1st of March. I feel pretty unhappy with what I'm doing. So every day, at least for that month, without exceptions, I'll wake up at 4 a.m., work out for 2 hours, Kaggle for 3 hours, and then start my day. No exceptions. And just making these micro commitments gets me through. I think.
That's a nice one. I'm never planned, like it's like I just have my tasks and I finish them and then I just move on to another day. That's how it works for me. That's completely unhealthy. I either work or study. Like I am not moving at all, like I don't go out of the house mostly. because I mean there's COVID and we have a lockdown as well. Maybe that's another reason why. And then I surprised I get burned out, like, and then and then I just just give myself some time. I just do whatever I want to do, and then I get incredibly bored of not working, so I go back to work. So, and it takes like, I work continuously every week for like 3 weeks, and then I take 2 days off, and then I go back to whatever I'm doing. But like this Twitch and podcasting and stuff are just tend to be like require so much effort sometimes, because I had to edit it. Normally I don't edit, by the way. I mean, I will not edit this. I will only do editing for the Spotify.
Hmm.
So it's just too much sometimes. I was like super burnt out last week. I feel like, I mean, it's a problem for every single, I don't know, software developer, because like we love our jobs and we tend to overwork sometimes and then burnt out and just do it all over again, and it's just a cycle. I just made literally like whatever I'm doing, it's all about machine learning and data science. I do open source contributions. I do in my leisure time. I learn stuff. I do my masters. I just work, and like I have my statistically significant other, and he's also like a machine learning engineer working on NLP. I mean, we both do the same thing over and over again. If I feel like if I didn't love it, I wouldn't have the power to go on. And that's what you actually do with yourself, because like you have your job, your chai time. um I mean, it's hard if you don't love something that much, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think the fun needs to be there, and I don't think I do a good job at it, at least as
No,
good
you're
as you.
you're awesome. No, you're awesome. I mean, you're awesome. Like I'm a fan totally of your
You're being too
podcast.
nice.
Yeah. So if we don't have any questions, we can close the podcast because it's already like a 1 hour. I didn't realize how the time passed, because like I'm always planning for half an hour. That's me. Yeah. Do we have any other questions? Let me check. I guess I guess not. We will be back to have a live coding session of a wave, I guess, because I mean I really want to try it.
Hmm. Just do
Maybe
it.
we can. Yeah, I saw that you were, I mean, you also do like dashboarding and stuff. Maybe we can like combine it with an NLP tool or something and just come up with something nice. So it's not our last episode that we are doing, I guess. Thank you so much for accepting to be here, because I know that you mostly host people, so that's an inverse chai time data science show in a parallel universe.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
I'm good at asking stupid questions. I give much stupider answers, but no, thanks more for having me. This was a lot of fun, and yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Okay, I will have another episode next week. I will see you. Bye bye.
Thanks everyone.